What's up, everybody? Hoang Zero here, and today I have for you all the top 8 deck profile for. I generally call this fish. I don't know what I've heard some people call it bluebirds, but joining me today we do have Ice Barrier, who made top 8 with this at the. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the Canada regionals, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We did the Magic Stronghold regional up in BC.
Yeah. So if you want to go ahead, and feel free to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Hoang, for having me. Hi, everybody. My name's Ice Barrier. On the Bandai app, my name is Nathan. I respond to either one. I've been playing the game since basically the super pre-release of this game. I've been almost an exclusive blue player this entire time. Um, Most people know me from the Hexablau era of BT5 onwards. When Bond of Friendship was a thing, I was still playing Hexablau. So most people know me through that. And I've just been slowly picking away at this deck list for a while now. And then once EX6 came around, I just everything kind of fell into place for this.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone knows, but your Discord icon is literally Joe with like Gomamon and all that. So like, I'm sure you're super excited for this deck, right?
Oh yeah, Golemon's been my favorite since the original series.
Yeah.
I'm so hyped about this deck.
All right, and so I have to ask, what do you call this? Because I call this fish, and like I said, I know people that call it bluebird. There are some people that call it like plesio or goma. Like, what do you call this?
I've been calling it Ocean Friends. I
Oh,
used to
that.
call it Fish just
Yeah.
because it was mostly fish and the Seadramons.
Mm-hmm.
But with the birds coming in, I kind of had to change the name,
We.
so I just came up with Ocean Friends.
I kind of like that. That has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm sure burning question on top of everyone's mind is where did this even come from? Because this is a deck that didn't see any results in Asia. This is a deck that didn't see any results in English up until this most recent regional with you. Um, so I have to ask, aside from like obviously like this being one of your favorite decks, what makes this a strong deck in your opinion?
So, in my opinion, the current meta right now is a lot of Numemon, a lot of the Jagras decks,
Mm-hmm.
which revolve around playing key Digimon at certain points in time. And that's something that Aegis deck, the Ocean Friends deck, is really, really good at
Mm-hmm.
disrupting. So a lot of times when Nume will want to pass turn or spam out the board, they're gonna use the Monzai X or the Etamon to force me to try to play something. If I have Aegis on the board, they can't do that. That really limits their options.
Mm-hmm.
With the DNA effects, same thing. When they play something, I get to do everything and just disrupt their entire play on their start of turn with the dual tamers, or sometimes when they just Imperial forgets about
Yeah.
Aegis and just slams a body and hopes to DNA. I go, no, 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 I get to go. My turn now.
So I'm sure most people don't kind of they don't most people probably don't know how the whole deck functions. I barely know how the deck functions, right? I had like a surface level understanding of the deck, but obviously I'm nowhere near as of a master of this as you are. So what is the primary combo? Because I do understand that it's like you have Aegis Dramon and you have the Plesio underneath. What's the primary combo here? Are you able to get both Jaiping plus Plesio like underneath the Aegis Dramon, or is it like primarily like Plesio plus into Aegis?
So it's actually relatively easy to get a full stack underneath
Okay.
Aegis. So the ideal stack actually is gonna be you hatch, you go into the Gomamon level 1,
Okay. The Buka,
and then you
right?
go, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually surprisingly, this is a going second deck.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I'll tell you why. So when you go second, you're either getting two or three, maybe it's one if you're unlucky. So you go hatch, you go into the rookie for free. Then you go into the level 4 bird, the Shichuemon, for two, and then you pass turn by doing one of the boosts or mental training. Now the ideal stack is going to be Gomamon into the level 4 bird, and then when you raise, you're going to use the trainings or whatever to go into the level 5 bird, and the level 5 will let you spit out a level 3 from your stack. When Gomamon on play will let you draw a bunch of cards. You'll gain a memory from the Bukamon. Then you go into the Plesio. Plesio will spit out a level 4 or lower, and then the level 4 or lower will draw you another card
Right.
and gain a memory. And
Okay.
then Plessio's effect will stick something else underneath. It doesn't matter the level, so you can put the Shangping underneath.
Right. Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
see. So
So that's a really easy way of doing it.
yeah.
And
Okay.
then if you have the memory, you go into Aegis, spit
Mm-hmm.
out the Shangping, and then do the Shangping shenanigans.
Oh, because this is actually on play when digivolving, right?
Yeah. It's on
Oh,
play when Digivolving. So then you absorb the level 4 and the level 3 that you spit out earlier, and then you bounce everything level 6 or lower back to your hand, to their respective players' hands. And then after that resolves, then you can spit something out from underneath Shangpeng with his once per turn ability.
that's kind of crazy, no? Like,
Yeah.
like just saying it out loud is like really insane. I'm super down for that. And like
Yeah.
as a new May player, I definitely can understand why this would be super annoying.
Hmm.
And I know I've asked you this in the Hoang Zero Discord, but you know for the viewers at home, what are your easiest matchups and what are the hardest matchups?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a valid question. By far, the easiest matchup, as I mentioned, is going to be the Numemon.
Mm-hmm.
As long as, they don't see crazy turn one, turn two of just the, what's it called? The Ukomon spam
Right.
bite.
Yeah.
As long as you don't, like, get flooded down super quickly, and as long as you don't, brick, uh, you have a very, very high win rate. I played against the Numemon deck 3 times in the regional, and I beat all 3 of them with this deck.
Nice. Nice.
The next easiest matchup is going to be the slower jogger stacks. So that's going to be your Sophimon, I
Mm-hmm.
guess the Shakuamons or whatever.
Right.
The On the odd chance, the Dioboromon. Dioboromon's okay. It's just a matter of if they see their D-Digivolve or not.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you just kind of sweep the floor with them.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. They spawn a
Mm.
token, you just spin it all back.
Yeah. Same thing with the jogger stacks. They try to play something, you just spin everything back to their hand, and they're back to ground zero.
Okay, and I know you versus the Magnamon decks, you also have Betamon that basically
Yes.
prevents the Magnamon from ever like trying to reproc its effect unless they have like Blinding Array or something, right?
Yeah, so this deck does actually pretty well into Magnamon just because of this Betamon. You just leave the lingering stun effect on the Magna, and unless they have another body on the board that they can swing with,
Mm-hmm.
then the Magna is just stuck there. And
Right.
then chances are they're going to be hard slamming Vmons onto the board, so Aegis also has a chance to board wipe or spin things back.
Okay, and then how about matchups like Imperial Dramon or Mirage Galcamon? You know, like some of the more faster decks or like OTK style of decks.
Right. So the faster style of decks, obviously, you're going to be a little troublesome for a setup deck like this that revolves around your opponent playing a bunch of Digimon. So your single stack decks are going to be a little trickier, or very tricky. Um, I find Tyrant and Imperial are probably two of the easier matchups
Mm-hmm.
with this deck, just because when Tyrant digivolves, they spit out something, and then you get your chance to trigger things.
Right.
Imperial, same thing. Imperial is a hard one. You have to be able to go fast, otherwise you have to match them. Otherwise, you just get blown out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Mirage. I'm very grateful I did not run into Mirage in the regional. I honestly have not had any kind of matchups practice against that deck, but it just sounds absolute cancer.
Yeah, like conceptually, you know, you have this deck where like
Right.
you want your opponents to kind of interact with you, and Mirage kind of just pops out a raising and they just like beat you down.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Although I'm not too sure how the new Mirage list would interact with this because I know they do run the Betamons with the level 5 bird,
Yeah,
the Hoang.
the Haktuamon.
Yeah, the Hawktua. Nice to know that I'm not the only one calling it that.
All right, so thank you so much for covering that, and feel free to jump straight into the deck list, right?
Yeah, sure. So for my eggs, it's pretty standard. I'm only running 4 of the BT7 Bukamons.
Mm-hmm.
When I inheritable effect, when you play a Digimon from one of my sources, gain a memory. Really simple, focuses around what this deck does. I don't run a 5th egg just because if I hatch all my eggs, I'm in a really bad spot.
Right.
This deck is more about controlling with the first couple eggs and winning
Mm-hmm.
from there.
Right.
Moving on to level 3s, we have 4 of the BT7 Gomamons on play. When played from the sources, draw 2 cards. Be 3 pot agreed. And then we got 4 Betamons on play. If played by Infect, one of my opponent's Digimon gets stunned until the end of their turn. And then I have 4 of the new EX6 Biomons. Just pretty standard for, I think, well, I don't know, just a lot of jamming inheritables on the level 3s, which makes this deck so much nicer.
So I'm kind of curious. How often do you actually get a block off with the Biomon, or is it like primarily just for like the jamming inheritable?
It's primarily for the jamming inheritable.
Mm-hmm.
It when it is on the board, it is just something extra for my opponent to think about. Just be like, oh, there's a blocker I have to deal with, or oh no, what's gonna happen once he plays the Shangpeng? He's gonna absorb it and then
Yeah, we've
bounce
come
every.
we've come a long way from BT1 Monmon, who is a one cost Evo blocker level 3. So
Yeah,
Power creeped by the way. Took a couple of years, but we got there.
yeah, with an inheritable of jamming too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
just a little bit.
Would you ever consider running like floodgates, like the Madoki Betamon or like Siakomon or anything like that?
Uh, I was considering it, but at the end of the day, they are a little passive, especially for a deck that does move around their bodies a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time. So just having extra inheritables that I can just suck into other stacks and just say,
Mm-hmm.
nope, I get this inheritable now for a bit, and then
Yeah.
spit it back out
Yeah,
is always very useful.
makes sense. Makes sense.
If I would say if there was more decks that utilized the floodgates, that the blue has access to, like the memory and
Mm-hmm.
Digi-evolution cost reduction, then I might go in. Then I might side in a couple of them. But I'm pretty happy with the level 3s as they are right now.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep. Moving on to level 4s, we have 2 of the EX3 Abidramons. On play, one of my blue Digimon gains blocker until the end of the turn. When played from the sources, unsuspend. So this kind of is like a surprise blocker kind of
Do you,
situation here.
how often did you use this to like extend to like an extra attack and like try to get additional damage off?
Uh, to extend into an additional attack, not that much,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Most of my damage actually comes from like the rush aspects with the Seigermon
Right.
level 4s.
Okay.
This is more of a very. This was my kind of get out of jail free card along with my option card down there.
Oh, to
On
like get blocker and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I see.
exactly.
I see. Okay.
So I would swing, do have something to spit it out, and then give it blocker, restand it, and I have an Aegistrum on 14,000 blocker on the
Mm-hmm.
board.
Okay, makes sense.
You know. Then I have 2 BT15 Seigermon's Rush with inheritable jamming. Um, Very good card when you can just spit it from the sources after swinging.
Yeah, makes sense. You get like the jamming value immediately, and then you spit it out. And that's an extra point of damage.
Yeah.
I imagine you're never like OTKing with this deck necessarily, but like I feel like it's a pretty consistent 2 turn kill now.
Yeah, I've OTK'd out of, let's see, out of the 6 rounds that I played in Magic Stronghold, I did OTK, oh, I want to say 30%, 30 to 40% of my matches.
So like a pretty decent amount.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So it does come up very, very often.
All right, and then obviously promo Seedramon, the
Promo
$18
Caesar.
card, right?
Yeah, 2 of these guys is basically this entire deck. On play, on when Digivolve, one of my blue Digimon can't be deleted by battle until the end of my opponent's turn. Very, very good card. Uh, very good protection, especially for the Zudomon. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have jamming inheritables, you just Digivolve and target the guy that you don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
Also very good against piercing, against like the tyrants, unless they bounce everything back, which sucks for everybody.
Right.
Yep. And then his inheritable is actually really good for this deck too. Once per turn, when one of my effects play another Digimon, one of my blue Digimon gains Rush for the turn. So this inheritable came up a couple times at the regional as well, where I just needed one more swing. I spit out a level 3, and suddenly I have game.
Nice, nice. Okay, and then do you think two is like the optimal amount of seizure mons, or do you think like the third or the fourth is necessary?
I'm very happy with the two.
Mm-hmm.
I never was in a position where I felt that I needed to see this promo Seedramon. It was nice when I had it, and when I didn't have it, I always had other options that I could go into. So I'm
Yes.
not
So
terribly worried about it.
for people that don't want to shell out the $18, I think at the time of this video, the $18 per Seedramon, is there any alternatives that you would suggest?
You could always just bump up the other cost of the Seizuremon that in the list here. The
Mm-hmm.
rush jamming Seizuremon's always good. Uh, I would probably recommend going 3-3 on the Beedrill Seizuremon, the
Yeah.
other level fours in this list.
Okay. Fair enough.
Not really on other level fours. I've been messing around with a couple of them, but nothing really feels as consistent as these guys here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then to wrap up the level fours, we got four of the new EX6 bird. We got the I don't even know Shichuemon. Please don't kill me.
It beats me, dude.
Yeah. On play, draw one. If played from the sources, gain a memory. That's insane value for this deck. And then also has an inheritable jamming. That's just icing on the cake for me.
So you have Betamon that gives jamming, you have Biomon that gives jamming, you have Seizuremon that gives jamming, and you also have this bird that gives you jamming. Do you ever feel like there's a redundancy in the amount of jamming you have in a stack, or like it's just like it all just like kind of like meshes together?
There's definitely some redundancy, but in my opinion, it's always better to have some form of redundancy just in case, because
Mm-hmm.
just in case you accidentally end up spitting out one extra body that you didn't mean to spit out.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah, and also if if I end up getting like de-digivolved twice, then at least I still have the level 4 on top of the level 3 that still gets jamming.
Fair enough. Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously Hucktuamon.
Yeah, everybody's favorite new Digimon. Yeah, the Huaktumon is very, very important in this deck. On play when Digivolving, you may play a level 3 blue Digimon card from one of my sources without paying the cost. This is really good in combo with, Gomamon with the Betamon mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
And then inheritable when attacking by placing one of my other blue Digimon as the bottom source, unsuspend. This is really huge with all the jamming inheritables that we just have.
Yeah.
So,
Do you
yeah.
so like of the level three like fish targets that you have, I assume like
Mhm.
Gomamon's probably your best because like draw two, like Potagreed's always really good.
Right.
I'm trying to remember, and I'm sure you would know this, but is there any level three that like generates memory on play?
Memory on play. Ooh, I don't.
Yeah, like
Not blue.
not in blue. Okay, I wasn't
Not
sure if
blue. I
like you
don't
could
think.
turn this into like a two cost Evo like when you spit out a level three, but
Well, that's what the level two's for. That's what the Bukamon's for.
oh, you know what? That's actually totally valid. Fair, 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 fair.
Yeah. The Bukamon's there, and then if you use one of the trainings or the memory boost, it just turns into a free Digivolution.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on, carry on, carry on.
It's all good. Let's see. Rounding up the level fives, we have two of the BT-15 Mega Seedramons. The
Mhm.
on play when Digivolving by placing one of my other blue Digimon as the source. Return one of my opponent's Digimon whose level is less than or equal to the placed card level. So this is kind of my pseudo floodgate removal option for me.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So, generally speaking, how do you deal with, like, Pomumon, for example, right? Something that would
Mm.
stop you from spitting out bodies.
Yeah. Really, really, really good question. I can't really.
Oh.
That's the long and short of it. I can't. What I can do, I can't really deal with it long term. But what I
Hmm.
can do is I can force my opponent to constantly have to spend 3 memory to spam it onto the board.
Hmm.
So there's Seigermon. The next turn, there's the Shangpengmon coming in.
Hmm.
Next turn there's like Zudomon potential. There's
Right.
Aegistermon, which will spit out. Well, Aegis can't really do anything here. But
Hmm.
there's just a lot of ways for me to force my opponent into dead turns of just spitting out this rookie that kind of shuts down my deck, but gives me 3 memory every time.
Yeah. Would you ever consider a card like Forbidden Trident, the one cost blue option from I think it's BT6, where
Mhm.
it's one cost, give a Digimon 3000 DP, and then they get the ability to bounce a level 3 on swing?
I don't think it's necessary
Okay.
in this deck. It, I mean, the list is already super tight as it is,
Fair.
and
Yeah.
without the search options with the training and the mental, it's very difficult to find cards if you don't already have them in your hand.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
Zudomon.
Yeah. Zudomon Ace, for obvious reasons. Turns out you can play this guy with Aegis effect.
Oh, was that like a point of contention before? Like, were people saying you couldn't?
So it's a sea beast, and they
Mm-hmm.
errataed Aegisdramon to be able to spit out those guys as well.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah. So you can spit him out. So you can Digivolve, trash two sources, go over, go into Aegis, spit him out again.
That's pretty good. that's
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
that's pretty damn good actually.
Yeah. For four memory, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, and then like you said, being able to generate like level fours like nothing, setting up the ace play, I'm sure that comes up like pretty often against Nume.
It comes up often, not as often as you'd think, just because
Mm,
their board is empty most of the time.
fair enough. Okay.
But when it comes up for sure,
Yeah.
man. All right, moving on to level sixes, we have the four of Shangpengmon on play when digivolving. You can place up to three of your other blue Digimon underneath the sources, then return all other level four or lowers to the hand. For each
hmm
card placed, increase the level by one. This is really important because I've had oopsie daisy moments where I accidentally giant trunade my entire board too.
Ooh.
But yeah, so this is a very, very important card in this deck. It's your board wipe mechanic,
hmm
constantly being able to recycle it as well with Aegis because for some reason Bandai decided to give this thing aquatic trait as well. And then your turn once per turn to repopulate your board.
hmm
When an effect adds a source underneath this card, you can spit out a level 5 or lower Aqua or Sea Animal in its traits without paying the cost.
So I imagine the whole gimmick here is you Aegis Dramon, and then you spit out the Jaiping, and then this if you tuck enough bodies to where you don't accidentally suck up your own Aegis Dramon, and then you spit
Mhm.
out like X amount of bodies, right?
So, so the combo is you go into Aegis,
hmm
you spit out the level 5,
Oh, the
the
Hawk Tup?
Hakutsuma.
Okay.
Yeah, on play you spit out a level 3 from underneath Aegis.
Okay.
Next turn, when they play something, you spit out the Shangpeng,
Right.
which will then absorb the Huak2 and the Gomo or the level 3,
hmm
and then it'll bounce every level 6 or lower back to hand.
Right.
And then once you absorb it, you spit out the Huak2 again, and then you spit out the level 3 again.
Oh, I see. So like you're not actually getting rid of your board. It's more you're just getting rid of your opponent's board, and
Yeah.
in the process, you're just they don't, your Digimon are just leaving temporarily.
But then you have to worry about if your board gets super wide, then
Pay costs and
you have to
just
be
like
careful.
yeet
Yep.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah. Just in case you accidentally eat all the important parts of your board.
fair enough. Okay.
Yep. Wrapping up the level sixes, we got the EX3 Plesiomon. When Digivolving, you may play one level 3 blue Digimon or one level 4 with Aqua or Sea Animal or Sea Beast in its name,
hmm
or a trait from the sources without paying cost. Then I may place one blue Digimon card, regardless of level, as the bottom source. So this is kind of your way of cheating out the Changpeng if
hmm
if you don't have enough memory to go into Shangpeng, but you do have enough to go into Plesio. You just Plesio, spit out something, gain a memory off the Bukamon,
hmm
tuck under the Shangpeng, go into Aegis, spit out the Shangpeng. If you don't have enough sources to bounce level sixes, then you spit out a level 6, so the Plesio inheritable will automatically bounce one,
hmm
and then you're just good to go from there, because one level 6 and then all level 5 or lowers are bounced back to hand.
So I'm curious, why the ratio of four ping to three plesio?
Shangpeng is way more value than Plesio, as
hmm
much as it hurts to say. Plesio doesn't really offer too much once it's done the on Digivolve, and then once Aegis goes over it.
hmm
Once Aegis kind of spits out the board, it's really hard to recur the Plesio inheritable, I find.
hmm
But when you have Shangpeng when you have more Shangpangs, it's just that much of a bigger threat to your opponent. You have to deal with this, otherwise Aegis is going to come down again on top of it and spit it back out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, makes sense. And then obviously,
Yeah.
the big boss
Or
himself, right?
Yep. And then level sevens, we got four EX3 Aegis Tremons. When Digivolving, I can play a blue level 3 or one Digimon with Seadra in its name, or has the Aqua, Sea Animal, or Sea Beast types or traits without paying its memory cost. And then opponent's turn, once per turn, when my opponent plays a Digimon, regardless of like effect or memory cost or whatever, I may activate the when Digivolving effect.
So why four Aegis Tremon? Because like it's a level 7, so you know like when you look at that from like a deck building perspective, it feels wrong to have four level 7s.
Mhm.
So why?
If I don't see this card, I'm dead in the water basically. There's
Oh,
nothing I can really do.
fair enough.
Shang Pang definitely helps the matchups a little bit, and the jamming does help the aggression. But at the end of the day, I need to see Aegis to be able to continue controlling my opponent's board.
Fair enough.
So, plus, a lot of the level sevens out there don't have a habit of spitting back out the level six they went out on.
Mm-hmm.
So having multiple Aegises on the board is never a bad thing for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's totally valid.
Yeah. The downside is Plesiommon is a plesiosaur, not any of the Aqua or
Yes.
blah blah blahs.
Yeah, so you can't
So
actually spit it out.
yeah, you can't spit that one out, which is also another big reason why I have four of the Shangping over Plesio.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to the wrapping up with the options, I have the two bombs in the deck, two of Great Maelstrom. It costs 9, it's very expensive, but when I would use this card, I can tuck a blue Digimon as the bottom source of one of my other blue Digimon to reduce the cost by 3. So it essentially costs 6 in this deck. And then uh, I bottom deck one of my opponent's Digimon. Very useful, very, very, very valid against the Tyrant matchup, especially
Mm-hmm.
when they suspended.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense.
Yeah, and then also because I tuck something by effect, Shang Peng gets his ability again to spit out a level
Oh,
5.
true.
Yeah,
Oh, that's fire. Wait.
yeah. There are discussions of using this one or the new EX6 option.
The Sea of Destruction.
Yeah, the Sea of Destruction. I tucked it over with some of my friends at locals, and we ended up going with the Great Maelstrom just because the Sea of Destruction is good, but it is very reliant on you having the correct level in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, the security option is bounce all of your opponent's lowest level Digimon to hand, which
Very,
is
very easy to play around.
very, very easy to play around. Yeah, if you want to pull that up right here, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not the hardest card to play around, whereas Great Maelstrom just says bottom deck everything, or bottom deck one thing onto the board.
Yeah, and so you know, Maelstrom removes a singular target. This would remove multiple targets, but like this is much more difficult to set up. Whereas Great Maelstrom is like it's just you do it as you
Yeah.
breathe, right?
Right.
Mm.
Also, I have Shangpeng, so low level Digimon aren't really a concern for me.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I just need to be able to deal with those giant stacks that
Mm-hmm.
I can't swing over.
Yeah, and then of course, as every deck does, like if every
Yep.
non-rush aggro deck does nowadays, right? The good
The
old
four
memory
train,
boost training, yeah.
four boosts and three trainings. I actually had the ratios reversed,
Mm-hmm.
but then the night before I was playtesting against Imperial, and I realized
Oh,
that the
yeah.
dragon mode actually counts the mental training. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, all right, that's switching.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
And I imagine, you know, also another plus is that like this will dig for, which
right.
is you know always a really great bonus. In decks that are like you're kind of I feel weird calling this a combo deck because like it's kind of a combo deck, but like also like anything works at the end of the day. So
Right.
just having the extra dig for can be really nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
I really do appreciate you coming onto the Hoang channel and discussing your deck. This is a super cool deck, and I'm really glad to see that this finally got a result. You know, not only do we have Ragna Lord get a result in English, but now we have Fish. So, what's the next EX6 deck to get a top right? Is it going to be Diaboro?
Oh boy.
Is it
I mean,
Alliance maybe? Maste?
I mean, Diaboro's been getting a lot of hype with the new support. I
Yeah.
think once BT 17 comes out, we'll be seeing a lot more Diaboro
Yeah,
tops.
a lot of the clock, right?
Yeah, I think actually Angels might be the next one to
Is that where
go
we're putting our
crazy.
money? We're putting our money on Dominimon and the three great bozos.
Yeah, I'll put my money on that one.
All right. So, do you have any shout outs or any closing statements you want to make?
Yeah, huge shout out to Zulus and just everybody at the local scene there. I actually was I played Diaboro at the Zulus regional,
Oh, nice.
but then I saw one of my buddies playing this deck, and so I got inspired from him. So, uh, Tim, that's on you. Thanks for the top, man. And then huge shout out to my buddy who came up with me, Will Inseron. Helped me play test basically all night the night before just to get some experience with the deck
Mm-hmm.
before going in. So without him, I don't think I would have done as well as I did. So huge shout out to those guys.
All right. And again, thank you so much for coming onto the channel and doing this deck profile. And I'll see you all later. Peace out.
Yeah, have a good one.